Okay, I'm on the phone with two of the biggest UFO troublemakers on the internet right now, I'm proud to say.
Hey!
Hey, exactly. I'll let the lady introduce herself first and tell us what channel she's from.
I'm seeingUFOsPA. PA stands for Pennsylvania.
And your name is Alison, of course.
And my name's Alison, and my name's all over the place out there because I've had to defend myself several times.
Absolutely. And the gentleman we have is Mojo. Go ahead, Mojo.
Hi, everybody. This is channel whotookmymojo coming out from Oregon. And I let Alison take all the heat, so thanks, Alison.
Oh, you're welcome. Somebody had to take the fall.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of heat going on, and both you guys have had a lot of it in different forms. But what I wanted to do is kind of get a little bit of insight as far as what you think your experience is all about, as far as the spiritual, technological, humanity aspects of filming UFOs almost on a nightly basis. Alison, you want to answer that first?
Scientific only type. So all my conclusions or theories are just based on evidence I've actually had firsthand. Although I've been sharing a lot with other people around the world who are having similar sightings, because we're all trying to fit the pieces of the puzzle together of what's going on, because whoever is in these crafts are not volunteering what they're doing and what their agenda is. I've had I can't even count the many of thousands of hours that I've spent since it was my daughter who saw the first one in June of '08. And they started ramping up in the spring of '09. And it gave me a unique opportunity how often they kept flying by our windows and stuff. And the fireballs and the orb things. But it took me getting night vision to put a lot more of the puzzle pieces together, that the little orbs that people see in the fireballs morph or transform, or it's a porthole somehow to different crafts that either emerge or shapeshift out of these. And I've just been trying to share it with the world and give them clues to what to look for, try to show, what they're capable of doing, and let the people decide for themselves. When they see them for themselves, they will be able to recognize the behavior.
Okay. And Joe, you want to kind of give us a little bit of your background and your approach?
It's pretty similar to Alison's from an observational standpoint and trying to come up with a hypothesis of what we're seeing. And I agree, they're everywhere. And my event started back in just a couple of years ago, so I'm going into my third year, and I still don't have a lot of answers, but I believe they're in observation mode. That's one thing I think Alison will agree on.
Yes.
And we're still looking for a lot of answers. We have hundreds of hours between us probably out there observing, and still I don't have the answers. I don't know if Alison would agree.
I don't have the answers either. I could just describe the behavior.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Joe, you feel like a spiritual type of connection to these experiences that Alison has told me that she does not. Could you kind of describe how you feel that spiritual connection?
If you want to go down that road, I guess we should. I am a Christian, so I like to follow people like L.A. Marzulli and other people that have researched a lot more than I have. And so the only thing I would disagree with on some of these researchers is they all tend to put these sightings into Nephilim or fallen angels. And I don't know why they don't consider the possibility that they could be benevolent as well. So that's the approach I've taken, and I can honestly say, from my point of view, I don't believe they're malevolent, at least the ones that are visiting me.
And Alison, you don't have an opinion either way. The The only characteristic I've heard you describe your sightings as is little punks. So,
Yeah.
you,
Well, they make obvious maneuvers to avoid us when they can tell that we have cameras or binoculars on them. They will change their paths and not fly, in a straight line over us. They'll actually go almost in a complete circle sometimes. And people have come out with me, they couldn't believe it, to hear that or to hear somebody say that in the video. You have skepticism, it's understandable. But to have people stand there and say, that thing just went completely around us, it's
Right.
obvious that they are observing us. And we could be standing right where they just flew out of the woods the night before, and they would avoid that area. So people say, oh, just sneak up on them, or why don't you just go and hide in the woods, and wait till they come out and then catch them on film closer. People can't even sneak up on deer. And these are advanced, whatever they are.
that's a very good point, Alison. We can't sneak up on deer.
Yeah.
Now, but both of you have recorded objects extremely close. Joe, Mojo, you have a lot of material where you are extremely close. And Alison, I've seen a video of yours where one of the people you were out with, almost looked like he could reach out and touch something that was down in the woods. This is true?
I would say never. The closest thing I ever had come by me was about 8 feet away. An orb dropped down from the sky.
Okay, that's
I
close.
couldn't film it, It's not filmable when something is a split second. There's more things that have happened to us close than we were able to film. And it's like they can tell you don't have a camera, your battery's dead, and all we would have is our eyes. And, the night vision on a couple occasions was still working.
Yeah.
But there's no camera attached because the camera died, But I have a magnifying lens on my night vision, so the average that they would stay away from us is typically 500 feet to 1,400 feet. They like to stay about that distance. I take it that they feel comfortable being about that far away. So they know you can't just run up on them or, get them that way, I guess. And they would do more displays when they're about that distance and hover longer doing that bright, sparkly mini sun thing. Twinkling, like Sirius, and brightening up and then making you go, ooh, and ah, before they take off.
Right.
And a lot of people, you'll see in written reports, they'll say, as soon as I grabbed a camera to film them, it's like they knew it. And it is the feeling you will get, because it's like all of a sudden they say, oh shit, they're gonna film you, or film us, let's go, They don't want to be on film, they like being covert. They want to just come here and observe us in our natural state. And, like we go to Africa, we go in safari, we don't want to see all the animals stop doing their natural stuff just to stare at us. We want to see them being themselves.
Yeah.
I get that impression. That's my impression I get.
Well, your impression certainly is valid with as much experience as you have. There's a question that I meant to ask Mojo last time I talked to him, and I'll ask you too. Mojo, you go ahead and answer first. What do you think the largest object you've ever spotted is?
Well, that's a great question, Will. I think the largest object was the mothership in the valley. So I could see it just about from one end of the creek to the other end of the creek. And not that it was lit up all at once, but I believe it's a pretty large craft, and the objects we see are inside the craft lighting up. I know the orbs can travel on their own, but if you, one of the recent clips that I posted online was a UFO returning, and if you look at that video, you can see the spheres in the front of that craft, and how the craft moves through the sky. Those spheres, they change. It's like different angles show different amounts of spheres in the front of that video. So I have personally never seen the whole craft, any of the crafts lit up, 100%. But just by observing some of the lights in the areas, I think there could be a large craft involved.
Alison, what about you? What's the largest craft you think you may have seen?
Well, I can't speak for the ones that are up high because there's no way to tell the distance, the
Right.
jet size. But the ones that have been against tree lines, or or over a neighbor's house, for example, that the average was about 50 feet. But the one that I caught closest on film was about the size of a school bus. I was more worried about getting the shot. My nephew was staring at it and wouldn't even get out of the car. He was so scared because it was that close. It was, maybe 200-300 feet above us. And about the size of a school bus is what he said. So,
Wow.
which is 37 feet long. And that one was fully formed. It had the full mimic cloak kind of thing on with tons of lights. And I have a radar report, complete one from the FAA, and there's not even a trail of hits showing any object in the sky.
Yeah.
So I can't get any better evidence than that. You got a blank radar report and a $7,000 camera video of something a couple hundred feet away. I can't get any better evidence than that.
Yeah, well, you do have a very strong scientific approach to your work for sure, Alison. And I kind of want to move on to a topic we've discussed this before. Last year, 2011, there's a scientific community online called IO9, and they declared 2011 the year of the orb as far as UFO sightings. And both of you obviously see a lot of orbs. A lot of people around the world do. And we've already touched on it a little bit. Alison, what do you think the nature of these orbs are? Are they biological? Are they cybernetic? What exactly are they doing? What function can they possibly be performing?
Well, there seems to be two different sizes of them. What I've observed, I have that military-grade roof cam on that, and having seen smaller little orbs zip around the woods, those are the ones that show up on flash photography pictures, and they're about the size of a soccer ball to a beach ball size. They can, change their size. Those are the ones that set off the EMF ghost meter thing, peg it. And I got that one picture of one streaking towards my electric meter, like it's sucking the electric off my electric meter. And in fact, our local West Penn Power had sent out memos back in the 80s about UFOs sucking electric off of their lines. So I guess it's a common thing to suck electric. But I've seen these smaller ones go and hit these larger, we call them fakers because they'll have mimic lights on, and they're not that big, they'll mimic aircraft lights. But they could stay a sphere form also. The larger spheres and the smaller spheres, they both, in my opinion, seem to be more like a travel container of some sort. They're a protective shield around a craft, or maybe an ET's in the smaller one, or maybe they're just to probe the smaller ones, and they're sent out to document, grab samples, pick up energy, things of that nature. Because they go and rejoin a larger ship. So, like my general opinion is that they are some sort of travel container or maybe a Stargate portal type thing. Not an entity that's alive in itself.
So more of some type of drone is what you're saying.
Well, travel container is what I feel comfortable describing it as, because after they power up and get real bright, some kind of process happens, and then after that dims down, a craft is usually seen. Now, does it morph out of energy, and puts matter back into a matter form from energy? The processes are beyond our human ability to figure it out with our stage of evolution, I'm sure. If these beings are from a different dimension or are comprised completely of energy themselves, then there's no way for us to tell. I can only go, like I said, on observations. And what would show up first would be like a translucent bubble in night vision with a magnifying lens. And I've seen them close enough that they look like a Tesla ball. Sometimes they'll blink, with a rhythmic pattern, similar to a heartbeat or whatever. But they look just like a little Tesla energy ball. And then for some reason that thing gets a signal or decides to change, and it could go through various luminosities and colors from orange to red, be dim. When they get brighter, they get more like the sun. similar glowing colors, but often you'll see prism type flicks, like rainbow type, like Sirius looks like when it's low on the horizon.
Right.
And extremely bright and outrageous, where nobody looking at it that can think that it's just an airplane or something.
Right.
It's hard to capture that on film. That's why I've shown it on night vision, because the night vision does react and shows how crazy they look. So
yeah, the light is extremely distinct. I mean, it's very distinctive apart from a star.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Mojo, you've had some great orb experiences recently, and you recently posted a video I just absolutely love of an orb actually going down into the tree line, very similar to some of the activity Alison sees. Can you tell us a little bit about your orb theories and experiences?
Sure, Will. But Alison is the orb queen. There's no doubt about it. She's got the equipment. So I'm rather limited, but I can share. I agree with her on a lot of things. They're different size spheres. I call them spheres. And they seem to be, they like their distance. They like to keep their distance. And they do like to be covert. They like to use vegetation and trees to hide behind. And even after I spot them behind the trees, I would think they'd be calm enough to come forward, but they maintain their distance. I've gotten them very dim in the night sky and then brightening up to, like she said, a star, like a sun, real bright, and then they dim back out. I've seen larger ones as well, probably the size of maybe 10 feet wide. And so I've seen the larger ones and the smaller ones. At times they feed off of other energy. I've seen the spheres seem to surround bright energy source, like a sphere that might be brightening up, and then the other orbs would be manifesting around it, sort of like they're eating energy. That's about all I can think of.
Okay, so do you think they're mechanical, Mojo, or do you think they're biological, or a combination?
I think there's a combination. Well, the larger one I saw, it looked like an orange, and it had a bunch of little lights, like the orange peel, and it had a bunch of little lights that you could see come through the skin of the object. So those looked really mechanical to me. The smaller ones, I don't know. She could be right about a container. Hard to tell.
What would be inside the container, Alison?
Well, that's the part. I mean, on a couple shots, that my roof cam had caught, one would come pretty close. It looked like it could have been like two eyes and a mouth, but that could be just pareidolia. Where you try to find faces in pixels or something.
Right.
So I don't know. They could have some advanced technology that maybe they were wearing some little lenses, eyeglasses, but yet the part they send out, could keep them safe and be just like a little probe that acts as their eyes for them to go in. Because we've had them look in our windows of our house. I got that on film. I stopped pointing it at the house because it freaked my daughter out. And they would go around to each window and look. And then zip off and kind of fly around the woods, After they drop in, they zip around the woods like they're looking to make sure the area is safe or something. And then they'd go hit the tree line. And I'd watch that tree line, and that, I'm assuming was one of them, that camera's not as good a quality, would start glowing in the tree like a fireball and just start brightening up. And then they'd raise up above the trees and do that insane mini sun thing. Dim down, start to blink like an aircraft, and fly off as it expands while they're flying off. So until they tell us, all I could do is guess. You can't imagine anything being in a sphere, let alone a full-size, triangle craft or whatever. Mm-hmm. So I can only imagine that being some type of device that allows matter to come through, but the crafts expand while they're flying, so how can anything do that unless it's pure energy? Or they've reduced matter down to a more transparent level. And in fact, I ran across something in physics, Michio Kaku, I believe, and they said something about matter that approaches the speed of light will shrink. in size. So perhaps that's what they have to do to come here. They're going through light years, presumably. That's a possibility. So they have to shrink their matter down, and then maybe that's reconstituting it back to its normal size, where they just have control over size and matter altogether.
And the morphing aspect of both your experiences, as well as all over the world, it's becoming more and more common for people to capture these objects actually changing shape. And there's a good number of people in the world, I think, Alison, I can count you in this group, who propose a fake plane theory in regard to these objects. Mojo, you're interested in the morphing aspect. You've witnessed it. Have you seen the fake plane morph in and out of existence?
Yes. I'm reluctant to post that video just because of the blowback from people saying that it is a plane. So the only thing I don't do is follow up like Alison to look at FAA to find out if there's a plane, light aircraft flying over. She seems to follow up and, make sure. And so that's the only thing. I just avoid putting up that footage. But I want to go back to the orb thing when she mentioned the eye, like an eye. I videotaped those orbs blinking, and that's what comes to my mind. It's like an eye blinking, and that footage I put up. So I thought that was interesting. She said that.
Well, just to throw in, at Rendlesham Forest, the one that they saw in the woods also blinked like an eye, if you didn't know that.
You know what? I remember either hearing that or reading that, and that's how it was described by some of the witnesses, that it was a giant blue eye, a giant red eye?
It was red.
Okay.
Reddish orange. And in fact, I do believe that what they saw in Rendlesham Forest is similar, or of the same group that we are seeing and filming. Who Took My is filming, he thinks it's different than what I'm seeing, but if they could change their shapes, the basic orb, the energy lights and some of the things, when it's hovering at the top of the tree and it's putting on, a whole bunch of lights and bubbling out. I've seen them in my woods looking like a cluster of bubbles. In fact, I called it Mr. Bubbles. And it's beyond our ability to comprehend what the heck that could be. How could they do that, and how can anything be alive in it? It's too much.
Yeah, it's complicated, and getting back to the fake plane, Alison, your avatar on YouTube is actually a cutout of what looks like a jumbo jet with a strapped onto a UFO, and so you've seen a dramatic change in appearance. You've already said that, but do you think you've seen an orb transform into something that was supposed to be an airplane?
Well, let me clarify. There's a lot of people posting daytime footage of what they say is a fake plane.
Yeah.
I have not made any of those claims because I haven't seen that. I've seen V-shaped, like chevron-shaped UFOs tumbling. I've seen oblong, cigar-shaped, and spheres in the daytime. I have not. I've seen, just to double check. I've looked at planes that are glinting and, seeing weird pixelizations on high zoom with my own camera. And every time I look on flightaware.com, they're always a real aircraft. So I know that cameras do pixelate, and, the wings will look like they disappear, and other anomalies that high digital zoom,
right,
as opposed to optical zoom. And bright sunlight will cause a lot of effects that I think a lot of people are misinterpreting as, that they're cloaked or they're fake or something. And I've asked a lot of people, please go in and film the screen to FlightAware after you catch one of these that you think is a fake plane. Because I have not witnessed one in the daytime. I've only witnessed these different shape things, and they're constantly changing their shapes and moving the lights around. And like a real aircraft that has a constant blink that's controlled by a relay switch that's on a timer.
Right.
The ones that do this faking thing, and had I not seen them, against trees, to know that they're really not far away planes that are 2,000 feet in the air. They're right there, 1,400 feet away from me with trees behind them. In fact, the footage from September 21st of 2010 proves it without a doubt, because it's the same woods that the constable was in and had an orb over its head, and it even starts to blink. And I'm on the opposite side when I catch one coming out of that same tree line, which has a cable TV and internet line running through there, and I've seen the orb suck a stream of energy off of there. So I think that that's probably the attractant to that particular patch of woods. The other woods have mines in it, and they stopped and hovered over where the entrances to the old mines were. I mean, fairly often where that. I find that to be an attractant in several areas, actually, even out west. When I look on old mining maps, even Lee's Summit, Missouri, has old coal mines all underneath of it. So something about mines they like. I'm not sure what, because it's different minerals in different mines. Maybe they just like to see our geology. I don't know.
Yeah, it's anybody's guess on what their motivation is and why they seem to, well, in your case, Alison, why they infest your area. It's the phenomenon happening in Murraysville is I don't know of another place on the planet where it's happening like that. Are you aware of a place that's even more active than where you're at?
Well, the Pine Bush, New York has had the activity for decades, and it's the same crafts, the same description that Dr. Bruce Cornett had studied it back then. It's still going on now, that Orion IFOs film them there. It's not just this little patch of Murraysville. I mean, I have contacts that I have a list on my channel description of other people in the Pittsburgh area that have all been seeing them. And, they contact me. Most people don't have the funds to get $5,000 night vision recordings and stuff, and or the time to go out and sit for 6, 8, 12 hours, the whole night to look and see maybe a UFO might come around. But they seem to go from a path through about Latrobe area, north of the town of Latrobe, and head northwest, up through the area of Monroeville, up north along the turnpike, all the way up to Evans City and Morris, PA, which is funny because, aliens in Morris, PA. That's where the reports are coming in now. And my activity has died down here now, and I'm wondering if I should go out there to see if they're getting the activity I used to up that way, because it seems to go on for about 3 years average from what I'm seeing on older reports going back to the 80s, that the activity would go on for about 3 years, and then they seem to move on to a new location.
Okay. And now, Mojo, you posted a video, it was a few weeks back, and it was a fairly large craft, and it was a fairly low altitude, and it had lighting on it. Obviously, it was not an aircraft, a conventional aircraft. But because it had a strobing light on it, immediately people are thinking this is a plane. And you've taken a lot of heat for that video, is that right?
Yeah, a lot of people can't get around the fact that a UFO might have a blinking light. And I don't know why that is. They like to mimic cell towers, vehicles, planes. I don't know, Alison, have you gotten the sound too, like aircraft sound? I've even gotten sound.
Oh yeah, the one that has the blank radar report that was a couple 100 feet over me has a real low rumble, like a jet that should be super loud, blowing my ears off. Yep, on that November 12th of 2010 footage, the low flyover. It's in part 2. Around 11 minutes and 50 seconds or something is when it flies over. So I have the footage of it hovering in the woods with trees behind it beforehand too. So like I said, I can't get any better proof than that, showing it in the woods hovering, flying over my head. It's got every light on. A guy who was into military aircraft said it even has night vision panels on it that like F-18s use when they land on aircraft carriers. It has every light I've ever seen on a plane all lit up at once.
Yeah, it's an amazing phenomenon, and taking heat and different negative aspects of what you folks are doing. You both expressed to me, some stories that sometimes can make life hard and confusing. But to add to that, a lot of your material is flat out stolen or copied or re-downloaded under a different name, and I know you both have some feelings in regard to that. And Mojo, you want to get on the soapbox here and talk about why you're I'll just say so upset about what's happening with some of your material.
Well, it tends to muddy the water. A lot of people want to find a source, and if people upload your video, they can put any other things added to it for their own reasons. So it kind of muddies the water. It doesn't leave a clear path back to the source. And really, the only reward Alice and I get is the fact that we get credit for filming. So just doesn't seem right.
And Alison, even with as many video views as you've had, and I think you have 2.5 million video views. Am I right on that?
Yeah. Well, I used to have 169 videos total posted, and then a hacker went in and hacked all my, deleted all my videos. But I happened to be signed in at the time, and somebody called me and told me that my videos had disappeared, and I went in there luckily and changed the password and everything to lock out the hacker. So, yeah, people have taken my stuff and said, oh, here's evidence the angels or the demons have come back. You know, these are the fallen angel demons, whatever.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen any behavior that cries demon or evil. You know, I see what looks like an explorer that thinks our Earth is deep and comes here and flies around and looks and then leaves again. That's what I see. So I put copyright on my videos. I write that on there. Number one, that's how I fought the 12 false copyright claims against my videos to suspend my channel 2 times. And that's how they found out my name and started the personal attacks, because YouTube requires you to put your own name on a copyright false claim when they didn't verify anything yet. You could say you're the president and you have copyright on somebody's video, and they would suspend your channel for it. So, and the other number 2 reason that I have it on there is because I just see far too many people trying to make a buck off of other people's hard work. They'll take other people's footage and put it in films and DVDs and sell it at conventions and blah, blah, blah. And I don't think that's fair for the people who don't do any work to make money off of those who are out in the field spending. I have over $18,000 in different equipment that I've tried. So it just would chat my, you know what, to see somebody making $1 off it when I posting free on YouTube to share it with the world.
Yeah, and you haven't made any significant money off of YouTube, Alison?
No, I think I got $172 after 2 years worth of having videos on there.
There you go. And
it's not even, it wouldn't even replace the batteries I've used.
Yeah, Mojo, you haven't made a penny.
As a matter of fact, I like to leave advertising revenue out of the mix, so just want to present it. It might put in people's minds that we're doing it for ulterior motives. So, yeah, I would like to have money to purchase more equipment, but definitely avoided that kind of image out there.
Okay. I'll start with Mojo here. Have you ever been afraid when you're out there, and you've got an object in your camera and whatnot?
Early on in the experience, I was kind of nervous, especially at being out there alone. But not so much. I don't know if we just develop less fear as we go along, but I definitely don't have fear come in.
And Alison, have you ever been afraid out there?
Yeah, the first time that I discovered that these little bubble orbs were invisible to the eye that were turning into fireballs, when I had one go past me in the golf course and it was pitch black out and they could have been right next to me. Yeah, I missoiled my pants, to be honest.
Yeah.
Real close. I had to go in the car and catch my composure because, I didn't know they were going to come out. I didn't know what they were going to do to me. I hesitated to go out, and go after them in the woods in the dark by myself after that.
Does the possibility, Alison, of you somehow being either permanently or temporarily abducted, does that ever cross your mind?
Yeah, I suppose that it could happen. They seem more afraid of me now. I guess that they know that I know their schmeal, I mean, we would see them, the orbs would, like he said, they'll hide behind bushes and stuff. They could be 20, 30 feet away. And as soon as they detect it, oh God, they see me, it'll hide behind a bush, peek out, hide behind the bush again, peek out. They want to come and check us out, but they don't want us to see them checking us out. And because of that repeat behavior, I've lost a lot of the fear of that. When they're fully formed crafts, something big enough that I could be fitting inside there, I kind of hide. I have that video from December 2nd of 2009, and I'm running up after them on the street in my pajamas at 4:30 in the morning. And then I realized, oh my God, nobody even knows I left the house. I could be abducted. They wouldn't even know where I went. So, I stopped dead in the tracks and hid behind the house to watch it. So.
Wow. Well, I've got one more question / topic I want to bring up with you, and Mojo, if you could go first, this would be great. What's the one thing, Mojo, that people don't know about you and your experience that they probably should?
Let's see.
I know it's a very tough question. We want some insight into what makes you tick and what motivates you and what's happening with you out there in Oregon.
I don't know what to say. Well, I think I don't know if I am that special. I mean, I don't know how to answer that one, Will. Can I pass on that?
Yeah, Alison, can you answer that?
Well, I have one experience that I'm not willing to put out into the public eye because I don't need any more drama. But I felt all along that it was my duty, my job, to document them because they were there. And what's more important than documenting some sort of alien visitor, because it's an alien to our world, whether it's from the future or a different dimension, whatever it is, it felt like it was my duty and my job, and I made it a full-time job to document them. But I can't seem, unless they decide to do something different, I can't show any more. So even if they do come back, if they repeat the same behavior, I'm not going to go out of my way to film it anymore because I have to get back to real life. Yeah. I got a remodeling job that's been on hold for 2.5 years.
Well, the aliens have a different schedule for you, apparently, Alison.
Well, they did, but I think, I've shown as much as that one person with no backing can do. My night vision's dead. My Sony Handycam, the LCD door's broken on it. I can only open it a little tiny sliver. I've already worn out one laptop keyboard. And, I'm driving a 1999 SUV, and I don't even have any floor in my kitchen. I've been staring at holes in there, and I spent all the money on equipment to try to document this fantastic discovery. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Earth is being visited by some other life form, and their volume of crafts and activity and boldness are increasing, and it's still not mainstream knowledge. It's ridiculous that it's not.
Yeah, absolutely.
So every person that has the ability, that has the repeat sightings, it's their duty to also go out and try to document them. Hey, if you got to turn the TV off, the computer off, and go out and spend 6 hours a night to try to document them, to see what they're up to, I'm not convinced that they're not going to pull some stunt. They could. I mean, everything that they check out typically is what any military would do in advance of an invasion. So I can't eliminate that as a possibility, to tell you the truth. Because when they check out power plants, roads, electrical grids, industry, communication towers is a favorite hangout. They like to hang next to that. And that's the same things we would do before, if we decided to invade a country.
Yeah, it's absolutely a valid observation, and kind of in that same vein, do you see government disclosure coming soon at all, Alison? Do you think that's a possibility?
Personally, I think that a lot of the slowdown in worldwide economy is because so many people have seen them and they tightened their purses up like I did. Didn't want to spend any more money in case something happens. So unless our governments admit it and come forward to show what they know, and they'll probably have to lie and say, hey, they're just here sightseeing, don't worry about it. But they're going to have to admit something, because everybody is probably, there's a rebound effect, the trickle-down effect of people not spending money. Like me, I stopped doing all kind of things, because of this. And I almost sold my house and moved away because I didn't want to be around some place where the aliens were going to decide to set up shop and live permanently if they were going to be sneaky and covert, and you don't know what they're up to,
Yeah.
So I think the government NASA should start ramping up, saying, that there's life forms and here's what they look like. And they're checking out everything and they're harmless. They better start saying something like that, because, like I said, there are a lot of people that are afraid, and I think the economy is suffering in part because of the trickle-down effect from that worldwide.
Wow. Mojo, what do you think? Do you think we're going to have a government disclosure, or are we simply going to wake up one morning and have a sky full of visitors?
I don't think the government's gonna tell us. I just don't. So unless visitors do that, I think we're gonna just be just plugging along. I don't see any change.
Well,
yeah. They won't admit it, I don't think.
Well, I think that the lie is so complicated at this point that nobody knows how to admit it without going back and admitting a lot of things. Things we probably can't even imagine that are related to this phenomenon.
Well, they don't even have to admit the past things. They need to just act like, oh, it's a new discovery. We finally found evidence of life, and it's coming here to visit us.
Well,
because if they don't, we know that they know something. So if we have no trust in our own government to tell us the truth about something as important to that, then we have no confidence in them to run us as a government.
Yeah, good point. Well, you guys, I'm coming up on the 45-minute mark here, and I want to thank both of you for taking the time and the effort. It was quite an effort to get the three of us together on the phone. I also want to remind all the viewers of this video that the footage you've been watching is copyright and protected under the laws and belong specifically to Alison of seeingUFOsPA and Mojo of Who Took My Mojo. And I hope you enjoyed the video. And you guys, thank you so much for doing this. Alison, Mojo, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. Thank you, Will.
Okay, guys, and we will be talking soon, all right?
Great.
All righty.